Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be about how I made this brown and rust colored flying fox. So if you want to know how I made him, then keep watching. Alright, so starting off with a resin cast. So I cast a whole lot of flying fox heads all at once, and also the feet as well. So this is just one of the heads that I'm working on. Before I apply any paint, I usually put a primer on and make sure the resin's all nice and cleaned up. It's like removing all of the flashing, anything like that. So once that's all dry, I can start painting up all the bits that need to be painted, usually around the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and in this case the ears. But I'll end up painting the whole head a darker colour because I'm going to be applying some really dark brown faux fur to the face, so I don't want any of that white to show through. So the paint I'm using here, it's like a little bit of a brownish paint. It's black, but it's got a brown tone to it, and it's by the brand Matisse. It's quite thick. So it's good for like if you want to do thicker thin things or something, but I usually use chrome acryl to do all of my paint work. It's just a bit of a thinner acrylic paint, but like I always say, just double check and test all of your pieces that you're going to paint or anything that you apply to resins or polymer clay, just to see how they react and to make sure there's nothing weird that goes on. Okay, so for this one I am painting the eyes for this particular doll. The way I sculpted this piece was to be able to also take glass eyes when I cast it, but I think the painted eyes work quite well anyway when I'm painting these ones because they're quite dark. If I'm going to do something lighter or a different sort of colour, then I would possibly do a glass eye. I have a glass eye tutorial available in my shop if you want to know how I embed them in the resin, so you can check that out. It's creaturesandnat.com. But for this one I'm using the brand Chrome Acryl again, and it is a water-based acrylic paint, and I'm just painting in a layer of brown over the eyes. Pretty much the same that I did for all of these flying foxes. I did one blue eye, and that was for the galaxy one, but for the rest I did all brown because they have brown eyes. And then moving on to the feet, again I'm just prepping it with that primer again. It's a canvas primer by the brand Matisse. I think it works quite well when trying to paint things onto resin because when it dries it provides a really good tooth to the texture, and that way the paint can really adhere to the resin. And then once that's dry, I can go ahead and paint the whole foot a black colour. Sometimes it may need two coats, just depends how well your paint covers, but yeah, I think it only really needed one coat of paint. Moving on to the faux fur. So I'm going to be doing the body in two different colours. So the neck area is going to be this nice rust coloured, and so what I'm doing is just marking out the neck area that I need to cut out, and I'll end up sewing that to the brown side of the body. So just remembering to include a seam allowance, and because you'll lose that space when you're sewing bits on, and then just cutting them out with a small pair of sharp scissors. So once these are cut out, I can move on to the brown body. So this is the brown that I'm going to be using. It's quite thick. It's really thick actually, and it's sometimes I don't like working with faux fur that's too thick because it's just a little bit fluffy, if that makes sense. It's just a little bit too thick, but this one's quite nice. It's really soft and really high quality. So I've just drawn out the rest of the body patterns that I wanted to make from this doll, and you can see I haven't included the neck area, so they will need to be attached. The rust color needs to be attached to the neck of these ones, and I usually do that on a sewing machine, and it just depends what doll I'm doing. But this doll I can do some bits on the sewing machine, but the most of the doll has to be hand sewed. I try to get away with hand sewing as much as I can. I just find this machine a lot quicker and a lot stronger than hand sewing, but because of the nature of the way these dolls are constructed, I need to hand sew a lot of things. So I have a wing tutorial coming up. I also have my very first I wouldn't say tutorial, but process of how I made the wings. It's a little bit different now, and I am working on a new tutorial for it that will be available both on my Patreon and in my shop. So yeah, keep an eye out for that, and I'll go through the whole process of how I made these wings. In the meantime, for these ones, it's a lot of sewing left to do on these. So I always get myself a good quality thread. This is an upholstery thread, so it's quite a lot thicker than normal thread. So you want to make sure you've got a nice heavy duty thread to be able to pull the seam closed. So I'm basically just going to go around the whole doll and sew the body to the wings, and so lots and lots of sewing. You will get sore fingers. I have like a little callus on my index finger from sewing these bats, so it's a lot of labor intensive work, these bats. So this particular flying fox is still available in my store at creaturesofnat.com, so check that out if you're interested in purchasing them. There are 4 others that are also available in my shop in different colors, so check that out if you are interested in something like that. Payment plans are also welcome. Just message me before you purchase your doll and I'll let you know the process and how to do it. So yeah, I think I've tried to make these as realistic as possible and as life size as possible as well. Yeah, check them out if you're interested. I should also mention that these have a ball and socket armature inside for the body, and the wings are made from a wire armature that is fully posable, and also the little claws on the tip of the wings are gently posable as well. So I've tried to make it as posable as possible so you can get all of the poses of a flying fox. So once these are all sewn up, I can then start gluing and attaching the pieces to the resin, and I use a tacky fabric glue to glue all my things together, and it works really well. It's not that expensive, and you can find anything in your local craft store that is a tacky fabric type glue, and yeah, I find it works really well for attaching. Don't know where the rest of the footage is gone, but I've attached some faux fur to the head, given it a trim, and refined all of the features on the doll, and that's pretty much it for the whole creation of the doll. I have some more tutorials on my channel if you want to check out more of the process, and on my Patreon, I should say. But thanks to my patrons for supporting me, I really appreciate it. Check out my shop, creaturesofnat.com, and you can also find me on Instagram, Facebook at Creatures of Nat. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!